Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful tasting with Virtual Tasting Society. I am Vadim Perlovsky, and today I'm excited to welcome back a good friend of our group. Mitch McDonald is here representing Westward, the single malt Oregon whiskey. So they're made up in Portland, and I had the pleasure of visiting the distillery many, many years ago. Fell in love with them, with the team there, and the process and the whiskey itself. So we're super excited. It's been a few years, so I'm sure their stuff has gotten even better. We have some really fun expressions in front of us to taste. Um, the stout casks, we have two different ones. I know Jane is partial to stout cask whiskey, so we're
Yeah.
excited to try those. When I visited the distillery, the Pinot Noir was barely coming out. It was coming out at 375. So that's how long ago this was. So this was ages. But we're super excited to taste through these. Thank you very much for helping us organize this and for being here this evening with us. Mitch, introduce yourself, tell us about the brand, and take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, so thanks for having me. Excited to be here with you guys. As I was just mentioning, this is my third time with the Virtual Tasting Society, so it's good to get to know some of you, not only through multiple discussions like this, but popping into a few of you here and there at different whiskey events. But a little bit about myself. I've been selling booze now for just hit 10-year mark last year. Prior to that, I worked for Hyatt Hotels for about 10 years and did primarily all nightclub and bar and cocktail development and all. It was just food and beverage the whole time, but primarily in the bar side of it. And got a little bit burnt out on it and was put in my 2 weeks notice. And before I could leave the building, I got recruited by Martin Miller's Gin of all things. So that's people ask me all the time, like, why is your Instagram handle Gin Slinger, but you sell whiskey? And I'm like, well, it all started with gin for me. So was worked for Martin Miller's for about 3 years, then went over and worked for Blue Ridge Spirits and wine marketing. Had some great brands over there. Joseph Magnus, as we spoke of a little bit earlier, and Loch Lomond, Glen Scotia, a couple other things. But here in this past August, moved over to Westward Whiskey and was excited to be able to get involved in the American single malt revolution, if you will. So yeah, let's talk about some whiskey. I tend to get a little bit long-winded, so rather than talk too much, I would encourage everyone, if you want to get into the first sample there, you're welcome to. That's going to be our Westward Original American Single Malt. That's kind of the core expression for us. That's where it all starts. Um, I do
Mitch,
have
how should we line these up? We have six. I have six glasses in front of me, and I like to pre-pour and nose as we go. Is there a
sure,
specific
sure.
order you want to
Do
taste
you
these?
have are they labeled as what's inside or they just
Yes,
numbered?
yes, they are. They're labeled with
Okay,
what's
perfect,
inside
perfect.
and the ABV as well.
Wonderful. Let's go. Our order for this evening will be, like I said, the American Single Malt, the Westward Original, if you will be number one. Number two, we'll have Pinot Noir. Number three will be Stout. Number four will be the cider. Number five will be the cask strength. And number six will be the barrel pick from High Times, which is a cask strength stout finish.
Very cool. Wow, Jane had them in that exact order, and she even put them in the bag in that order, like a professional.
Nice work, Jane. Um, yeah, so feel free to jump into number one there. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about this brand and what they're all about. I mean, it's if you ever have the opportunity, you find yourself in Portland, you have any spare time whatsoever, please go check out their distillery. It's a ton of fun. It's just across the river from downtown Portland, and it is just one of the most eclectic, fun group of characters you might ever come across. And that is they are very true to what Portland is and the culture there, but it makes for a good time and it makes for some delicious whiskey. But they've got the facility there just in downtown. And if, let's say, you don't have any time to spare whatsoever, you're there for work or don't know what, I've got great news. They have a beautiful tasting room in the airport, believe it or not. And you can not only try all of our core expressions in the airport, but it's a great way to try some of our, unique, limited offerings, and they even do some cocktail flights in there, and they've got all kinds of fun swag and what have you. But it's amazing how many people who I run into day to day, and they're like, Westward, what? And they're like, oh, I know that from the Portland airport. Like that's where I know it. So it's just kind of funny how well that's worked out for them over the years. But um, yeah, so Pacific Northwest, it is an ideal growing climate for barley. And that's what everything's based off of at Westward. It's a two-row barley. This is the same barley that, many, many, many craft brewers use. And there's definitely a direct lineage to the brewing culture as there is to Westward, in that so many of the people on our team were at one time or another worked at a brewery, were a master brewer, worked in the beer industry. So there's a lot of parallels there. But full grain to glass facility. We were working with three different farmers right now, two in Oregon, one in Idaho. I bring that two-row barley to our distillery. It's milled on site. And we're fortunate because Pacific Northwest, it's, cool, damp winters, and then summers are warm and dry. But that being said, they don't have the extremes that you might find in other parts of the country. So we're able to get, maceration and 12 months out of the year. But more importantly, the barley that's grown up there is absolute world class. So kind of the tagline that the company talks about a lot that I think resonates really well is it's a it's an American single malt it's brewed like a craft ale. It's distilled like a single malt and then aged like a bourbon. So I find it a really easy to tell a story when you think about that tagline because it really is to me is this they're kind of coming and taking a page out of multiple people's playbooks. Brewed like a craft ale in that they use a natural brewer's yeast in their whiskeys. 99% of the whiskeys out there are using distiller's yeast. And I'm going to use an analogy here, and please just know that this is me spitballing. I'm not saying this may be a terrible analogy, but to kind of better understand that, it's almost to think of baking. And if you're using a granulated active dry yeast versus a sourdough starter, that could be kind of like an example of the natural evolution of an ale yeast versus a distiller's yeast. It's actually the same yeast they use to make Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. But don't let that confuse you. There are no hops in these whiskeys. Thankfully, I've had a few hopped whiskeys in my day. Not a huge fan. Hopefully, I'm not offending anyone there. But so that's kind of where the whole brewed like a craft ale comes from. Distilled like a single malt, in that we are copper pot distilled. I got a custom made Vendome copper still that I'm going to show you some pictures here momentarily. So that's where our distilled like a single malt thing comes from. And then aged like a bourbon in that we're using only new American oak. Heavily toasted, lightly charred. So there's a few other American single malts on the market, as I'm sure you're aware. But most, if not, almost all are using second fill barrels. So the fact that we're using virgin American oak has a huge impact on the liquid. Unfortunately, it has a little bit of an impact on the price as well. But sometimes you got to pay for the good stuff. But yeah, so what's in your glass there? That's our original. That's the baseline for everything that we make. Everything's done in small batches. We're talking 40 barrels or less. Age range on that guy is going to be between 4 and 7 years old, and 90 proof. So if anyone has any thoughts on that first one, cheers. I'm always curious to hear what everyone tastes and thinks.
Got a really interesting funk on the nose that kind of follows through with that slight yeast on the palate, almost like a cheese.
Yeah, I could see
Really
that.
interesting. And one of the other guys in the chat said apples and yeasty bread, and I'm like, I don't disagree.
Yeah. We do. I've done a decent amount of tastings paired with cheeses, and it works quite well. Obviously, with that malt driven flavor profile, there's going to be certain tones that you're gonna probably see consistent through each one that we try. But yeah, a lot of people find a little bit of a coffee toffee undertone to some of them as well. Um, but the original, I'll tell you, I mean, it does a lot of the heavy lifting for us in the restaurants and bars, because that's the one people typically go to for cocktails just because of price point. But makes a great Gold Rush, makes a great highball. I just think of like light, refreshing spring summer whiskey cocktails. It does quite nice. But yeah, so. That is really like I said, where it all starts for us. From there, everything else just gets into either different proofs or different finishings, or and that's where kind of a lot of the fun happens. The team at Westward is notorious for doing a lot of collaborations and a lot of fun, unique one-off offerings, which I'll tell you more about that as we go along. But that kind of introduces our next whiskey, um, which is, they love. I feel that to me, and maybe it just has been my experience, but having worked with a few other brands, I feel like there's always, in some cases, an element of competitiveness from brand to brand or what have you. But I gotta say, everyone at Westward's like super duper friendly with other brands and loves the idea of collaboration and trying to do things and work with their neighbors and try and keep it fresh, keep it interesting. And this next one is a good example of that. So Willamette Wine Valley, for those of you who are wine drinkers, Willamette is known for some of the world's best Pinot Noir. It's actually the same latitude as Burgundy. So they're getting a lot of a similar weather patterns there. I'm a big Pinot Noir fan myself, and I've been drinking Oregon Pinots for a long time. So when I started working for Westward, I immediately was excited for this. But Willamette's only about an hour from Portland, believe it or not. So we're actually able to send a couple of the guys from the production team to that area, and they can sometimes source casks that have been dumped that day, brought back to the distillery, and filled with whiskey in less than 24 hours. So we're talking um, unwashed, fresh Pinot Noir casks. Um, those will be French oak, and then typically you're getting. Sorry, I didn't have my chat open here. If I missed something, let me know. Um, Typically, the finishing on this is going to be an additional year and a half to 2 years. So, if you think the first one you had was 4 to 7 years old, just think of that same 4 to 7 year old blend, but then tied on an additional 2 years in finishing. So, if you haven't done so already, please enjoy a little bit of the Pinot cask.
So you mentioned that you're using first fill, essentially virgin American oak casks. Are you reusing them at all, or what are you doing with them? It seems since there's no legal reason you wouldn't. That sounds like a
So
route.
all of our new make goes into first fill virgin oak. We are reusing some of those barrels, which um, you'll get into here in this next expression. Um, and that we have like a little bit of a barrel trading situation going on where we'll age our whiskeys in it, then we'll give it to someone else. They'll do something with it. Then they'll send it back. We'll put our whiskey back into it. So it's kind of a fun little give and take that we have. But before we get into that, I don't want to spill the beans too much. I want to talk. Let's kind of get everyone's thoughts on the Pinot Noir and what do you think about that guy?
I'll pipe up. I threw it in the chat, but I, this one cracks me up because it's a bit like a wine and cheese tray all at the same time. That same funky cheese note that I get out of the base spirit, but then it's got all those fruity Pinot notes on top of it. A little bit floral, a little bit of honey. It's just delicious.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. It's interesting whenever I do events. I feel like the single malt Scotch drinkers tend to gravitate a little bit more towards this one than the others. The next one on the list is our stout finish. I feel like the bourbon drinkers tend to gravitate a little bit more towards that one. But that's just, something I've noticed. The Pinot Noir, we've got a signature serve cocktail with it where we do like a New York sour. And if you're not familiar with that, it's basically like a proper whiskey sour with the egg whites and then you float a little red wine on top. So obviously we recommend you float a little Willamette Valley Pinot Noir on top. But sounds weird, but it's a beautiful cocktail and quite delicious, I might add. Um, but just the brightness of the fruit on that. I've got an account in LA that's using this in a Black Manhattan, and the bitterness and the complexity of that Amaro with the fruitiness of the wine finish on this. It's a delicious cocktail. Do a nice job with it.
What I really like on this is that you could really taste the character of the distillery through, and I'm glad we're doing them side by side because this one's delicious. It's like a dessert. It's fantastic. But you could taste the original as the backbone of this.
hmm
I was going to say the balance is nice. It's not over influence, not under influence. It's really they play well with each other.
Awesome. Love hearing that.
Ooh, this in a Black Manhattan sounds amazing.
It's excellent. And it's funny because when we were R&Ding it, I was like, "Oh no, stout, stout, stout," and the bar director was like, "No, Pinot," and like he made it, and I was like, "Okay, you're right, I'm wrong." Um, but yeah, it works really really well. Well, yeah.
And who
Uh,
you said is LA? Who is that?
this is at the Riviera House
Mm.
in Redondo Beach. Yeah. Um, Trying to decide if I want to break this up and if flip you guys through a few slides. I feel like some visual aids are always nice. I'm gonna cruise through a few slides just to kind of give you an idea of the distillery and a little bit about the brand. But if you get thirsty and I don't say move on to number three, don't uh, don't hold back. Feel free to jump in early if you'd like. Um, Trying to get this to go full screen for you guys. There we go. Got a full screen now?
We see the presenter screen instead of the other screen. Hit swap displays on the top left.
Good.
There we go. Now we got it full screen.
Awesome. Awesome. So believe it or not, Westward was founded in 2024. So just this past year was our 20-year anniversary. So for if you think about that and the American single malts and the battle that is American single malts, it's interesting to think that Westward is definitely without question one of those brands that's kind of led the charge for American single malt. Um, Something not everyone knows, but this is the same team and same founder ownership group that started Aviation Gin back in the day, believe it or not. And kind of I would be one would think that probably helped finance a lot of what they've done at Westward. But no more. Now they're exclusive to just Westward, which is nice, being a independently owned single brand that's doing things the right way. And one might argue the hard way, but a lot of labor of love goes into this whiskey. Got a few pictures here of the Pacific Northwest, kind of give you those vibes, and it tells you a little bit about the history and the brand and where it's from. There's Miles Monroe, is our master blender. He's an absolute character. If you ever have the opportunity to go to an event where Miles is there, I strongly recommend you sign up for that because he's a wordsmith, but he's a good time. He knows his stuff, um, but he puts on a great event. I'll tell you that. So more on him a bit later. This is the slide that kind of touches on that whole brewed like a craft ale, distilled like a single malt, aged like a bourbon. But I think I pretty well got the gist of that down with all of you. Uh, our core lineup, we are done with number one there, the original. That's going to be the turquoise bottle. The Pinot Noir is rightfully colored, the maroon color there. And let's take this opportunity to jump into number three. So this is going to be Westward Stout. So kind of following along with the whole idea of collaboration and working with our neighbors. To Vadim's question earlier, since we're only using virgin American oak, like what are we doing with those barrels? Well, we've had for many, many years, they would give barrels to different brewers throughout Oregon and allow them to, use those barrels to do barrel aged beers. But several years back, Miles said, "Hey, to his friends over at Deschutes, like, here's some barrels. Do me a favor when you're done using them, send a few of them back. I want to run a little experiment." And basically, what they had done, Deschutes got some of our original whiskey barrels that we were done with. They put their Imperial Stout in it, aged it, finished it, bottled it, and then gave us the barrel back. Miles then put our aged whiskey back into it for a year and a half. And that is what you have in your glass. So to me, this is like the ultimate chocolate bomb of whiskey. Tons of milk chocolate. You get some hazelnut. But yeah, I won't spoil it for you. I'll let you get in there and give your own notes. Get everyone's thoughts on the stout. Works really, really well in coffee-based cocktails. Um, any kind of, Irish uh, coffee or even an espresso martini with this instead of vodka or tequila. Um, Works great in a chocolate old fashioned if you got some chocolate bitters and old Demerara syrup. But uh, obviously a great whiskey just to drink on its own as well. Um, Probably my personal favorite of the core four, personally. And like I said, when we'd have events, I feel like a lot of the bourbon drinkers tend to gravitate more towards this one.
Definitely like chocolate candy on the nose, kind of like you were saying, like a milk chocolate. I was not expecting it to be so mild on the first sip, given that it's still, 92. But yeah, then it just finishes with like that dark chocolatey sort of ending, which was so, so good.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all three of the whiskeys we've had so far, to me anyway, are just really, really smooth. Easy to drink, very approachable. They these are fun whiskeys to show people who don't necessarily always drink a ton of whiskey, especially whiskey neat. My wife will drink a whiskey cocktail every once in a while, but she's not the type to be like, yeah, I'll have a pour of such and such. But on this particular one, she can get on board with it. So that's kind of a fun thing to use, is to kind of introduce people to the category a little bit. But even then, like as we get a little further down the road, I'm skipping ahead, but even once we get to our fifth whiskey tonight, our cast strength comes in at 125, and people are like, okay, I gotta get ready for this. And then they try it and they're just like, wow, that does not taste 125. So it's definitely a testament to the quality of the liquid, I would say. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is our core four. I am going to hold off on the cast strength because I want you guys to try. Here's a little award slide here. but I won't dwell on that too much. But I'll just know that they've all done very well. Gold and double gold medals, and the cast strength won #5 whiskey on the Whiskey Advocate list in 2022. So a little bit more on that once we start tasting it. But here's a little sneak peek. Not everyone knows this, but for those of us here in California, these is some limited time offer products that we're doing this year in California. This quarter is the cider finish. So that's going to be our next whiskey that we're going to try. So sticking with our collabs, this is a collaboration with Two Towns. So I don't know if we've got any cider drinkers in the house, but Two Towns makes some pretty delicious cider. Um, I remember, gosh, it's been a number of years ago now, but there was not that incredibly long ago. I feel like, to me anyway, cider was like Angry Orchard, like super sweet, and but some of these dry ciders that are out there are pretty damn good. And Two Towns has definitely risen to the top of one of the best uh, domestic cider producers, I would say, for sure. So similar to what we did with the stout finish, we have done with a Two Towns cider. So we gave them our whiskey barrel. They put their cider in it. Did a barrel aged cider called the Bad Apple. You can usually pick up a 300 milliliter bottle of the Bad Apple at your local Total Wine. It's been aged in Westward whiskey barrels, says right on the bottle, which is kind of fun. And then when they were done with it, they sent it back to us and we put our whiskey back into it. So while I am treating this as my Q1 limited time offer, I actually had this in Q4 last year, and just had so much success with it that I asked to just keep it running for the Q1, because man, this was a really fun whiskey to sell during the holidays. I mean, just so much apple, golden, delicious apple right up front. To me, it's like an excellent whiskey slash apple pie. You know, it's fun. Has anyone had this whiskey before? What are our thoughts? We're getting a little Armagnac kind of feel there, or this, or off in a league of its own? Like, I'm curious to get your guys' take on this guy.
The nose has kind of like a rounded molassesy smell to it that I often get off of rums. And it's kind of curious that it was in a cider barrel.
Yeah, yeah. So it was one of our whiskey barrels that then they aged their cider in. Then when they were done, they sent it back and we put our whiskey back into it.
You're totally right. I'm getting a Calvados palate. Like on the palate, the beginning notes are very Calvados like.
I was just gonna say the same thing. It's absolutely Calvados for me as well.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
I put a lot of tasting notes in the chat, but yeah, this one's not my style, but I like it from a fun perspective.
That's fair. I did a hot toddy program with this one, with a few bars and restaurants, and it's interesting. We're making hot toddies with Smith Teas, which is a artisanal, like really high quality tea company out of Portland. And to me, I was like, hot toddy is just hot water, lemon, honey, some whiskey. But man, if you make a really like good hot tea instead of that hot water, and then some honey syrup and some whiskey, and throw a little star anise in there, you're cooking with gas. It's a pretty delicious cocktail. But we used a lot of the Bad Apple in several of the hot toddy recipes we had.
I could see this being really good in a cocktail or a hot toddy or something like that.
I really like the nose on this. It's the whiskey is still there, but it's got that little bit of fruit on top of it as well.
Mm.
Really nice.
So I'm just gonna go back to my slides here while you guys enjoy that or the others. So next up for our limited time stuff that limited time products that we're gonna have Q2. I'll be launching a two malts rye. So it'll be the first time we have something that's not 100% malted barley in the California market. So excited to get that. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I've been told it's quite delicious. Q3, be bringing back our rum cask finish, which is a favorite by many. It's 100 proof, so a little bit higher octane there. And then, I mean, who doesn't love a rum finished whiskey? I feel like they're almost always delicious. And then Q4 we'll have Westward Milestone third edition. So a little more on Milestone because if some of you may have heard about. Oh, and then we've got a single barrel program that you're going to get to taste here shortly. We've got that High Times barrel pick. But yeah, so Westward Milestone. I wish I had some of this to share with you guys, but it all sold out so quick that we have literally nothing left. This is a special holiday kind of time zone of a celebration bottle, if you will. This is edition two that launched last year and was a huge hit for us, like huge. It went viral basically, um, and sold out almost immediately. But it's a 21 barrel Solera blend of some of our oldest whiskeys. There's some whiskey that was 20 years old in this, believe it or not. But multiple cask finishes. I was fortunate to try it a few times and it was just like absolute like so much graham cracker gingerbread kind of flavor profile. But it was a fun one to sell and we'll have the third edition out probably Q4 of this year. But it had a few people on YouTube gave it, one of the best whiskeys of 2024, and then it just like snowballed from there and one more thing after another, and then it was gone. So it was great, but it was also kind of a bummer because it went so quick. Um, Went in and threw a few pictures of the distillery in here in Portland, a little outside shot there. Um, this is inside the tasting room, which is cool because the big glass windows look right into the distillery. But if you're there, you can, just have a taste, but you can take a tour. They'll take you in the back and give you the full guided thing. Um, One thing I should have mentioned earlier, I talked about the fact that we are brewed like a craft ale. One thing that's a bit different for Westward that could be giving you a little bit more of that funk flavor is we let our mash ferment for 6 days, which is quite a bit longer than most whiskeys compared to most are 2 or 3. But to that point, if you could literally, and they'll let you do it if you're in the distillery, pour right off the fermentation tanks and drink it, and it tastes just like a craft ale. And if we were to just bottle it or can it, we would be the second largest brewery in the state of Oregon. But rather than do that, we turn it into delicious whiskey. So,
And I will say, when I was there and I got to try it, it was the best beer I had on that trip, considering
yeah, it's super good, right?
it was so good.
So that's inside the tasting room. They do a great job there. The team's a ton of fun. They've got all kinds of fun stuff to try in there. There's Stilly Nelson, as they call him. So our still, all the juice coming off of that bad boy there. Ricky the Rick House is the new Rick House that they moved into. It's located in Milwaukee, Oregon, which is about, I think, 15, maybe 20 minutes from Portland. Where we're housing about 7,000 barrels of whiskey right now. Miles is constantly keeping tabs on. Speaking of Miles, there he is. This, as I mentioned before, he's quite the character. So if you ever have a chance to meet him, definitely try and make that happen.
So they all open from the top?
Yeah, all of our barrels are like that. think I mentioned earlier, like if you ever see me at an event, come say hi. I like getting to know you guys in real life versus on the Zoom. The Zoom is great, especially on a night like tonight where it's just dumping rain at my house and probably a lot of yours. But if you ever see me out in the field, please come say hello. Love getting a face with the name. And as you can see, Q4, yeah, I try to stay busy with events. So come say hi.
Mitch, can you talk at all about the bottle redesign?
Yeah, of course. So in 2020, gosh, I wish I had a picture of the old bottle. I don't have one on this deck, but the old bottle was just like a very, very, very classic clear glass whiskey bottle, which in some ways I kind of love that. But in 2020, full brand revamp, and they've went to this new bottle design, which is supposed to mimic the Cascade Mountains and the two rivers that kind of split between that mountain range. Let's see if I can, well, I mean, you get an idea there. Those two lines there that come down from the neck are supposed to represent the two rivers, and then the Columbia River Gorge, I guess you could say, is where the inspiration comes from. Then all the font, as well as the enclosure or the cork, if you will, are all done in copper to kind of pay homage to the fact that it's all copper pot distilled. But yeah, super, super nice bottle. Definitely demands attention. Uh, News. This brand has been very fortunate to be in a lot of press over the past year. Getting some nice reviews from Fred Minnick. We had a big write-up in Forbes magazine, Men's Journal, you call it. It's been a good year for Westward, and Milestone definitely helped with a lot of that. So, and then of course the fact that, which I'm fairly confident a lot of you are aware, just this past a month, the American single malt was finally designated an official category. So, with us being one of the brands that's kind of set the stage for the category, we were certainly included in a lot of the press releases that came with that. So, excited that that's finally done. Events and newsletters. If those of you who are on here like going to events or just really fall in love with some of these whiskeys tonight, two things I would encourage you to do: sign up for the newsletter. It's kind of cool because they do it based on your geographic location, so they won't just flood you with a bunch of information of what's happening in Oregon. That'll tell you like what's happening in SoCal, where we're hosting a Whiskey Wednesday event, or where we're going to be at Whiskey X, or if we're going to be at what have you. So it comes once a month and tells you what's going on a local level. And then also we have a whiskey club, which I think is pretty unique. A couple of the marketing gals that are working for us came from the wine world and basically said, every winery you go to has got their own wine club, and they send you, fresh vintage or winery exclusive or what have you, and it's a great way to capture new customers and what have you. So we jumped on the bandwagon on this concept at an early stage, and we've built a pretty sizable whiskey club that is free to join. And when you join, you basically get an email that announces every quarter we release something new. And I think I saw somewhere in the chat someone was talking. We actually just had our release for next month was announced. But let me tell you, these club releases are like small batch, kind of single run type whiskeys that some of the best whiskeys I've had are these club releases. And they're super funky, and they go from all over the board. We had last month's was an Oloroso finish, but we had like a sourdough whiskey one time. We've had a hazelnut whiskey one time. We've had they did a bottled and bond, so it's not always like super obscure and super crazy. Sometimes it's more, Oloroso bottled and bond, things like that. But it's a pretty cool thing, and they mail it directly to your house, and it's a fun way to have something that you can't buy in stores and share with your friends, and they usually over deliver on the quality. So if you're interested, you can sign up on that from our website. When speaking of the website, there's also a little thing there that you can look up where to buy and where you can find it near you, both in restaurants, bars, and liquor stores.
I think the little brochure we included on the kits has the QR code, right?
Yeah, there is a QR code right on the little brochure thing. I think everyone got a little thing of matches, a lapel pin, and a little brochure. So hopefully I'll steer you in the right direction. If any of you are going to Oregon, please feel free to reach out and take a picture of my email or my phone number. I'm happy to set you up with a complimentary tour at the distillery. That's my info. But yeah, you guys are ready to jump into the cast strength? All right, let's do it. So, as I mentioned before, 125 proof. Fun story on this guy. This was originally meant to be a club release only. So that same club I was just telling you about was just for the members. And somehow, some way, Whiskey Advocate got a bottle of it, and it ended up on their list and number 5 whiskey of 2022. So we then had to make it a core expression because everyone and their brother wanted some. But yeah, pour it up. Just remember that's the uncut, unfiltered version of the first whiskey you had, which is pretty crazy to think. So if you still have a little bit of number 1 left, it might be kind of fun to bounce back and then revisit because this this is a tends to be a crowd pleaser.
Is this the same stout as the stout cask, or is it a different brewery?
I'm on the cast strength right now, the number 4 whiskey.
Yeah, no, I know. It just
Number 5.
we had number 3 was a stout cask finish. I just wondered, are they the same stout cask
He's talking about
in
just the
brewery?
strength, not the barrel pick.
I'm lost. What?
Were there the stout cask, the regular one in the core and this one, the cask strength, are they the same brewery or are they different breweries?
These two that you're having, I believe, are the same. We do have some club releases from time to time that are from different breweries. We actually have a club release coming up next month that's from a different brewery. But no, I do believe both of these are Deschutes. But obviously one's cast strength and the other one's 92.
It's cast strength expression. Wait for him to unmute himself.
Well, good point there. I'm looking at the text feed. Good point, Michael. The club is also fun because it's free to join and you can opt out whenever you want. So, yeah.
Well, not opt out. You can just say, "Hey, I don't want an expression this month." If you didn't like it,
That too.
the option came up for the couple months ago was the cider cask, and I was like, eh. But I got a chance to try it, and it's good. I don't know if I'd rush out to get a bottle, but I'm really glad that for this that we got a chance to try it.
Oh, good.
Sometimes they've had some amazing stuff like Sauterne cask. This month I put it in there that it's a different stout cask. There's a brewery that you guys have done, and it's I've also gotten I mentioned it earlier in the cast when Miles did the tasting 2 years ago, 3 years ago. There was an expression, a Belgian Ardennes, which was just absolutely incredible. And I called trying to get it, and they said the only way it's a club exclusive. The only way you can get it, they gave it to us because it was on the tasting, but we ended up joining the club anyway, just because to get some of the obscure
right.
things that Miles does, and it's just a big fan. It's just really good. Really enjoy it.
Awesome. I mean, gosh, I feel like our club members are always very, very complimentary of it, and they tend to love it. And they, I mean, did you get the Oloroso this past release?
No, that one I didn't.
Is very good.
I've kind of been I'm in a hotel because I'm kind of in limbo since the fires.
Oh,
But
say no more.
the other thing is you can go back and get it. You can always, as long as it's still in stock,
Yeah.
they still have it. You can get it, and the shipping is great. You know, they just ship it out, and you get it by GLS or whatever that is.
Right,
So.
right. It works out well. So just to clear up any confusion, we had the original, we went to Pinot Noir, and we did Stout, then we did Cider. Now we're on just the standard Westward cast strength, and we should have one more to go, which will be our barrel pick, which is the cast strength Stout. So I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page here in the chat room there. But what do you guys think for those of you who are trying the cast strength for the first time? Like a lot of people here have probably already had the cast strength at one point or another. It's great about it.
I like it a lot. I get a lot more fruit notes on this one than the original, and it really just blows up and has more oily and heaviness.
Yeah.
I wasn't unhappy with any of the core lineup at like 90 proof, right?
Mhm.
But this just hits a whole lot of different notes, but still retains that character on the back end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I always have a hard time with this because I like high proof whiskeys in general, so obviously I'm going to be a little bit of a sucker when it comes to our cast strength stuff. But man, the barrel picks that this brand puts out and the cast strength things, I mean, it's just like a different level. I mean, just everything's just so much more amplified, and the flavor profiles just bounce out so much more and so much more depth. And I love how long the finish is on this guy as well. I'm gonna try and share something else. And bear with me here. I don't know how well this is gonna go. It's a video and it's still rough. So don't be too judgmental. We're still working it out, but I feel like we're all friends here. So I'm gonna share a little brand video that we've been working on, and I'm afraid you're probably not gonna get the background music that goes with it. And that's a shame because that really elevates the video to the next level. But I'm just gonna throw it on here shortly because I think it's kind of fun, something different. Let's see what you guys think. So did you see the intro? Yeah? Yes? No?
I'm not seeing anything on my end. Ah, there we go.
Westward whiskey, known for our award-winning flavor. We're a winner with competition judges and friends around the fire pit alike. With rich, deep flavors, nuanced with layered notes of fruit, there is no doubt about it. This is objectively delicious whiskey. But hold on, why? We're a different breed of whiskey maker, harnessing the creativity of craft brewers to bring new flavors to the conventional world of whiskey. Starting with Pacific Northwest malted barley, then turning the whiskey making process on its head. The longer fermentation packs in more flavor, the shorter distillation strips less flavor out, aging in a wide range of barrels to dial up different notes. Powered by people from radically unusual backgrounds, from deep sea engineers to artisanal winemakers, and a crew of local collaborators, no perspective is held back. Keep it passionate, we keep it playful. This is Ken. He's a baker. We borrowed his sourdough and made whiskey. This is Miles. He swapped out mosh pits for mash pits. This is Anna. She can taste fucking sounds. Different people in a different place, making whiskey in a different way to unlock new flavors in American whiskey. Westward is a whiskey that celebrates difference. It's different, it's delicious.
Not bad, right? Were you able to hear the music?
Nope.
Yeah, well,
Awesome.
heard
Love
the
it.
narration.
It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it's just when you hear it with the music, it really like I have never had more appreciation for sound engineers until I was trying to get that to play with and it wouldn't play because it goes from like a corporate do to then like a rock and roll kind of sound of what it's about. But I just think that it's a great point in what this brand is about and like trying to push boundaries, do things a bit differently, and also kind of talks about our interesting eclectic group of professionals that have all come together. I know when I bumped into one of the members at I think it was Jordan at KNL. He mentioned that he had been on a call with Anna at one point, and she is something else. She's one of our distillers, and she truly does have to have like noise canceling headphones to properly taste certain elements of whiskeys, and it's yeah, it's a fun group. I can't say enough about them. So just thought I'd share that video with you guys. Thought you might think that was kind of fun. Like I said, rough cut, still working on it, but it's coming along. Um, but yeah, we'll jump into the last whiskey. It's a barrel pick that High Times did, cast strength, stout finish. So kind of similar to what the last whiskey was versus the first whiskey. This will be kind of like the same thing for the stout versus the cast strength stout, and just seeing how similar flavor profiles and similar things will come out, but just way more pronounced, way longer finish. Excited to see what you guys think of this.
To be fair, this pick is high time exclusive, only $80. It's really good.
Yeah. High Times basically, yeah, yeah, the current state of the alcohol business is a bit of a struggle out there for a lot of folks, and there's a few big retailers like them who've decided to just work off a thinner and thinner margin. So, I mean, now's a great time to buy some good stuff at a good price because they're running pretty lean on some of their profitability on stuff. Same with K&L. David OG's got some great deals.
Wow, this is delicious. As we drink our last sample of the night, I invite everyone to turn on their cameras and join us for just a second. We have a tradition where we all take a photo together. So make sure you got something in your glass and say thank you to Mitch. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing the knowledge and the whiskeys with us. This has been absolutely fantastic. And thank you to the wonderful members for joining us tonight. This would have been fun, but less fun if it was just you and me. So thank you all for being here. So yeah, cheers. Hold up your glass and smile into the camera. Beautiful. Oh, no, we have to do it again. All right, smile to the camera one more time. Sorry, computer glitched. Adam, come back. Smile. Cheers. Got it. Thank you all.
Just want to point out that my dad is not on here, even though he is in a hotel tonight, as am I in a hotel, but yet I am here. But just point that out.
Point out that he was the one that like adamantly demanded that we feature Westward in a tasting, and now he's not here. Can we just all acknowledge that fact?
Yeah, I'm messaging him right now. He's like, tell him that Westward is my favorite American single malt. Tell him this. I'm like, I'm not telling him shit. You should be on here. That's your fault.
That'll teach him a lesson.
It looks like my option is Flaviar.
Yeah, that's always a dependable one.
Yeah, well, I'm in Northwest Florida, so I'm out. I'm out of touch.
Yeah, do you guys have distribution in Minnesota at all by chance? Or are we stuck ordering online too?
you're going to be stuck ordering online, unfortunately.
You're mostly on the West Coast, or what's your distribution like?
Uh, it's kind of spotty to be honest with you. The New York, Illinois, Texas, California, Oregon, Washington, obviously, things are pretty solid. But there's quite a few states out there where it's either available. There's actually quite a few states where they'll have like, I don't know, original and Pinot Noir, and that's it. But to get like the full core lineup, it can be a bit limited.
Yeah, Total Wines here in Northwest Florida has, I think, four, like a rum cask. Let me see what else.
You can get some rum casts. I would say go for it. That's a good one.
Okay. They got the
Cask.
single
Sour
malt
oak.
barrel, the stout cask. Oh, no, that's out of stock. They have the rum cask and the cask strength.
Well, at least you got a couple options.
I was introduced to Westward through the whiskey club, but my roommate was a member at the time. He had work that would take him from LA to Portland quite a bit, and so he would just pick up a bottle whenever he was there. So then we
Nice.
would both drink it, and then COVID happened, so then we would both drink it really quickly. But yeah, I got hooked on Westward, and then he moved away to Nashville, and so I had to shell out myself to get my own fix. So
That's fair.
I think just about everyone has voted in the poll. Mitch, what do you think is the favorite of the night?
Knowing this group, I will say the cast strength.
I'm gonna close the poll. While we're talking, we got one more result, one more answer in, and it screwed it up because it was tied for first, and I love messing people. But yeah, the result is in, and surprisingly to you and I, the favorite was the regular stout
Um,
cast, not even the cast straight stout cast.
oh,
Wow,
that's interesting. Huh.
right? But like the high tech pick is over 63%. It doesn't drink high. It doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
I would not have guessed 60 plus. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But this just goes to show that at 90, what is it? The stout cask is 92. At 92, it's just so well balanced that like you don't need the extra 15% of alcohol. It's good. Yeah.
No, you need it. You
Sounds
need it. Yeah, everybody needs it. You got to have that extra 15. It's the best.
It's the difference between want and need.
So first place was stout. Second place was Pinot Noir. Pretty close to that. That's pretty crazy. So the cap strength and the cap strength, the high temp pick tied for third. For those of you playing along now.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good distribution there across the board. I like it.
Even the cider picks went up. That's cool.
Those were my top two.
Nice. Oh,
But you say the rum cask is very good?
very good. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Cool.
And it's 100 proof. So to me, it's kind of like that happy medium of still getting a little bit more proof and a little bit bolder flavors, but not, overpowering.
Sounds good.
Cask is great, and I tried it once at a festival. I think Miles was there. It was something you guys did with sourdough. Can you talk about
Yeah.
that discussion at all? That was so interesting. It was spectacular.
Yeah, I mean that's why I can't encourage you guys enough to go to either the tasting room at the airport in Portland or the distillery in Portland because you all have access to some of those more unique crazy finishes where you can just have a pour of it. I mean, you can always join the club and maybe buy a bottle, but it's just nice to be able to try a few pours of some different things. But yeah, basically use the sourdough starter as the yeast to start the fermentation in the whiskey. And you picked up some cheese on the first couple. Like, let me tell you, the sourdough one is funky. And
Sourdough one, my dad had that, and dude, that was pretty special. I got to be
yeah,
honest. That was
it,
one of the best I've had.
it's I feel like it can be a bit polarizing under in certain groups. But man, there are people who love it, and it's definitely unique. It's something totally different. Uh, but yeah, fun to even just get on our website and look from the whiskey club. Like they have like their little library of whiskeys, and you can go through and see like what all is available to purchase, and then you can go even keep scrolling. And a lot of them, they're all out of stock. But just to see some of the wild stuff they've done in the past, it's pretty. I mean, they don't hold back. They do some wild stuff, let's just say. And the good news is that's not going to stop anytime soon because as someone who's been in that Rick House multiple times, man, there is some fun stuff aging in there. So more to come. Do you have a prize, Vadim?
Yes, we do.
Oh yes, I totally forgot about this. Thank you. All right, let's do it. Let's give some stuff away. So
That's
thank
why I
you so
was
much.
waggling him at the camera before.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was. Jake, tell us about what's going on while I work in the background.
Behind curtain number one, the ever fabulous whiskey notebook. The very cool, nice little cover. This really nice, really big bag, which hang on, I don't know why my blur is on. Let me turn that off. There we go. That'll make it easier. The nice big canvas bag.
That's nice and heavy duty, so you can put all your bottles in it for the next bottle share.
And a few extra beside.
And there's pretty cool little bottle holsters on the side, so you can get two on the sides and keep them protected, and then put your goodies in the middle.
Yeah, you could put all your cookies, Amanda, in the middle. And then this really nice cocktail smoker. Got a spoon and a little brush, a couple of smoke chips, extra screen. Pretty cool little piece. If you win, you have to remember to tell the team so that you can get them shipped. Because I'm not going to just randomly ship them, and I don't want them sitting in my house for 6 months. So there.
Well, you can just ship it to me now then.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate your sacrifice.
Take one for the team, buddy. Thanks.
That's it.
All right. Wow. So you guys will see this. The ad on this is the ad on the screen is the wrong brand. As funny as that is. You guys can see the screen share.
I can't. Oh, there we go.
Here must be present to win. This raffle is not sponsored by Maker's Mark. It is sponsored by Westward, American Single Malt. The shuffle, and then hit sort. We'll just one person is going to take the whole shebang. Make sure you remind me, put it in the notes. Remind me to send it when you sign up for the next tasting, and please, you have 30 days to claim it. Otherwise, Jane keeps it and rubs it in your face every time we do a tasting and you forgot to get it. All right, shuffle and then spin. Notice I'm not on the list. Sad. We have a winner.
Hey.
I do believe he was here, unless he went off to Hawaii. Michael, you still here?
I'm here.
Awesome. Congratulations, buddy. We don't even have to ship it. You can just go to Jay's house. You're like 3 minutes away.
I can walk there now.
Perfect. There you go.
I'm just
Well,
happy a
enjoy it.
Michael won. I'm just happy a Michael won. It's fine.
I'm Michael. As long as I'm Michael. Awesome.
Congrats. Enjoy.
Hey, dear, more swag.
That's like when Jordan brings more. I give Jordan more tasting glasses. His wife gives me the evil eye every time. She's like, he definitely needs more glasses.
Yeah, I hear that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think everyone enjoyed it. I really love that you guys did something out of the ordinary and everybody got a cocktail skewer with the Westward. That's really cool. I don't think we've had cocktail picks yet, so that was awesome. That was fun. And of course, matches, which I left my matches outside on the barrel. They no longer function after this. Something happened. We had water fall from the sky. So weird.
Right?
My cousin was staying with me, and I was like, "Oh, we'll go to the beach today." And like yesterday, we'll go do the fire in the backyard, have some whiskeys. Yeah, none of that happened. None of that.
Definitely not.
But I'll take it. Always on the ground, so I'll take it. I hope everybody enjoys this and holds on to a little swag for things in Westward. Next time they're using the matches to light a candle or something, or for whatever it is you use matches for, and the cocktail thing.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised. People love the matches. Everyone's got to light a candle or a cigar every once in a while. So you got those, and the cocktail picks work for stirring that big ice cube as well.
So you said the copper on the bottle is copper, right?
Well, it's not like the metal copper. It's like the color copper. Yeah, and then all the font on all the bottles is copper, and yeah.
I was gonna say if it was made out of copper, it would be like perfect for stamping ice cubes.
Oh, that would be cool. I should that milestone. The lid on the milestone is massive. They should have made that in copper because that would have been fun. But it looks like it's like a coin almost.
Looks like it'll cover the can really well.
You can use the pick on cigars as well.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, you can.
Tell us more. Tell us more. I don't know anything about cigars.
Generally, you smoke them. That's what I've heard.
You got you. I thought you just added them to flex. Like whiskey, it's not meant to be opened or drank. You just have them.
Yeah, you just put them in your humidor and say, "Yeah, I smoke cigars."
Mitch, I was going to ask you before, do you have anything new and exciting coming up that you're super excited about that you can actually talk about, or are they all sort of hush hush though?
I mean, gosh, let's see.
You can always stop the recording.
That's true.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Thank you all so much. This has been a lot of fun, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, everyone.